Hey all, Philosopher Stoner 666 here, and I just decided on making a video. I wanted to talk about today about this idea that I've been having about my type of personality. And this isn't necessarily an original idea, but something that I was thinking about, reflecting on. Carl Jung had this idea about categories or types of people. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Myers-Briggs personality test, where you can have, INTJ and ENFJ and all these different categories or types of people, right? Like they can be extroverted, they can be intuitive, and anyways, there's like something like 16 different types of people out there. These different categories of people. So you have, that rock versus that stick or whatever. So you have types of people. So I fit into the category of, the philosopher type. And then you have, the homosexual type. And then you have the crazy person, the manic type. You have, the warrior type. The survivor type, all these ideas, they're like the archetypes. You have the fool, the prostitute, the whore, in movies, these different character types. You have the Hamlet type personality and the Macbeth or the King Lear or the whatever. And just think about how my type, the philosopher type, is really just this maladaptive type. It's this type that if you accept evolution as a theory, doesn't make any sense that we would be. That I was thinking back to a thing I watched with Howard Bloom and The Amazing Atheist about the sex lives of philosophers, and talking about guys like Rousseau. They had mistresses and Descartes, but they never married, right? Even a guy like Nietzsche talks about this as well, that you can't think of a philosopher that really ever married or fit into that sort of social norm. A guy like Franz Kafka that wrote these weird books like The Metamorphosis, The Trial, these weird books about the nature of human bureaucracy and what it would be like to be like a fly, have the consciousness, but then perceive the world as a fly. Weird stuff like that. Well, he was a social deviant. He was a sexual deviant. A weird type. He was into, bestiality. So my point is the philosopher type is like a deviant type. Back in the day, say, 1,000 years ago, you didn't want to be married and have kids or play that kind of game. All you'd have to say is, you're the philosopher. And then people, they'd maybe roll their eyes and go, oh, yeah, okay. That's just, Schopenhauer over there, the weird philosopher, eccentric old man that lives alone with his cats or whatever. So, okay, he doesn't want to get married and have kids. Well, okay, we're going to give him a pass, right? We're going to say, okay, yeah, go ahead, do what you're going to do. Whereas if he had just been a normal member of society, he would have been compelled to play the game, right? He would have been compelled to, yeah, you got to get married, you got to do your duty, you got to have kids, you got to join the army, you got to do whatever. So, you have the philosopher type. And, you can even see this, with artists like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or whatever were probably homosexuals. Again, these sexual social deviants. And then they were only allowed to be artists because people back in the day, they probably knew there was something, I think there's something iffy about Michelangelo there. He's painting or doing all these sculptures of nude men. I'm like, gee, I wonder what the fuck that's about. He was probably a homosexual. And I'm not judging anything or anybody, but just thinking about my type, the philosopher type. So my theory is that human beings are, to expand upon it, we're like these strains. And I believe it's like the human race, what we're becoming, are like the way ant colonies are. Like the way, you have the queen ant that controls the hive, like the hive mind. You have the worker ants. You have like the truck driver ants. You have like although every ant knows their role. And my type is I'm a highly specialized type. I'm like almost like this maladaptive type. Because, I was walking down the street and, you see all these wiggers and wanksters and, yo-yo gangster type guys. And, they're the normal human being. That if you take a look around the world, there aren't very many, intelligence is a rare thing. Or at least my kind of intelligence. Like I don't have necessarily the highest social intelligence or artistic intelligence, but I have an intelligence for thinking about abstract concepts. This brute guy, this guy that I'm judging, oh yeah, look at that, abysmal cretin with a teardrop tattoo near his eye and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, man, look at this fucking asshole, this brute. But the brute is the normal type. And he's a type, he's a category as well too. He's a strain of humanity. But anyways, my strain wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this society taking care of me, getting me glasses. I wouldn't be here, because I was thinking, like, you read Kierkegaard or you read one of these other philosophers, the things I think about aren't all that different. The question why. And, philosophy is often maligned these days because it can't come up with an answer, can't come up with any sort of rational explanation. Well, why are we here or whatever. So I'm just like Kierkegaard. I was reading this thing where he was talking about, birth and death, and I forget the exact passage exactly, but really, I'm no different than him. I'm no different than King Solomon. They are what I'd refer to as, I don't know how else to put it, as my kind, that it's like autistic people. They're human, but they're not human. They're a different kind of human. They're something else. Their psychology, the way they perceive the world is something different. It's like, I've always had this feeling in my head like I'm an alien. Like I never belonged on this planet or something. And then I've read, I've come to evolve, I guess, in my philosophical outlook. I started reading guys like Emil Cioran, this Romanian French philosopher, wrote a book, The Trouble with Being Born. And I'm like him, like feeling like this weird sort of alien being as being a part of the human race. And I was even watching recently, George Carlin, Circling the Drain. Me and him, like, we're different. We got, different eye color, different personalities, but we're of the same type. And it's like we're this dead end. We're this cul-de-sac, this dead end that's not going anywhere. The why question that we can't answer, like, why are we here? What are we doing here? We're just, we got nothing. We're like this, we shouldn't exist. And that's, to me, one of the real questions out there is, why does this evolution keep producing these sort of failures or these sort of dead ends, right? These mutations. I am just a mutation. I'm a mutation that's been successful. The rest of society has been able to take care of me. But where's it going? Where's it, what's it doing? If we accept evolution, I wouldn't have been able to survive in a hunter-gatherer society. So I guess back in the day, I would have been like the shaman or whatever. I would be that type of guy. So really, I'm just looking at my note here that I wrote down because I have these ideas sort of sporadically throughout the day. With this type, it's a success that leads to excess, or you could say the inversion of that, an excess, an excess that leads to success, and it's like human beings, we're the victims of our own success. We've conquered the planet, we've dominated every other organism on this planet, we own the world. There are 7 billion of us. That makes us, in strict biological terms, the most successful species on the planet. Yet I'm the type that says, well, are we really successful? You have a look around the world, you see, all these problems, war, all these sort of things. And it's like, I'm that guy that asks that kind of question. Whereas, some homosexual guy isn't preoccupied with that sort of thing, isn't asking those kinds of questions. They're thinking about how they can stick their dick into some guy's asshole or something like that. Whereas I can't connect with that. I don't get the homosexual. So they're a deviant like me, like this sort of pariah, this sort of freak thing, but different, So that's like all this excess. And fundamentally, one day I think it will all end. We will, we are just circling the drain. I'd agree with Carlin. But yeah, it's like those are the types of questions that, I guess that's why I haven't, killed myself or done whatever, like, because, I don't know, I find it too fascinating to think about this sort of weird, I don't know, like, where does it go? Doesn't really go anywhere, does it? But it's still fun to ask, I suppose. So I guess the other part of what I was thinking about was my family's, well, I guess I would